First contact gone wrong. Captain Marcus Kane stood on the bridge of the UES Defiance, watching the massive alien vessel drift through space like a dying whale. The Zolonian ship was 3 times the size of his heavy cruiser, its bioluminescent hull pulsing with sickly yellow light. 24 hours ago, this first contact mission had seemed routine. Now his crew was trapped in the most dangerous diplomatic crisis in human history. "Status report, Lieutenant Torres," Kane ordered, his weathered face grim in the bridge's blue glow. "Their ship is badly damaged, sir. Multiple hull breaches, life support failing. We count approximately 2,000 survivors aboard," replied Lieutenant Maria Torres, her fingers dancing across the tactical display. The crisis had started when Kane's crew rescued Zolonian survivors from a pirate attack. The grateful aliens had invited the humans aboard for a ceremonial feast. Everything went smoothly until Engineering Chief Paul Morrison bit into what he thought was synthetic protein. The moment his teeth sank into the drumstick-shaped food, their guest liaison Krikstal had screamed in absolute terror, "Don't eat me. Please don't consume my flesh." The tall, crystalline being had shrieked, backing away from Morrison with such force that she crashed through a bulkhead. The misunderstanding escalated quickly. The Zolonians believed humans were carnivorous predators who would devour any living being. Within minutes, panic spread through their ship like wildfire. Half their crew barricaded themselves in secure sections, while the other half prepared for what they assumed was an imminent attack. Morrison had been eating lab-grown chicken, completely artificial protein designed to taste like earth poultry. But the Zolonians, who had evolved from plant-based organisms, couldn't comprehend the difference between artificial and real meat. To them, watching a human consume flesh was like watching a monster prepare to hunt. Now the situation threatened to spiral into the first interstellar war humanity had ever faced. The Zolonian High Command was mobilizing their fleet, convinced that humans were dangerous predators who had infiltrated their space. Under false diplomatic pretenses, Kane rubbed his temples, feeling the weight of 2 civilizations resting on his shoulders. Communications officer Jana Mills had been working around the clock trying to establish meaningful dialogue, but the cultural gap seemed insurmountable. "Sir," Mills called out, "we're receiving another transmission from the Zolonian fleet. They're demanding we surrender all crew members who participated in what they're calling the carnivorous display." "How long until their reinforcements arrive?" Kane asked. 18 hours, Captain. 7 warships, all larger than anything in our fleet." Kane stared at the stars beyond his viewport, knowing that humanity's future among the galactic community hung in the balance. One misunderstood meal had turned potential allies into enemies, but humans hadn't survived the chaos of Earth by giving up when things looked impossible. Torres began analyzing their ship's structure. "Mills, keep trying to establish communication with their civilians, not their military. And someone get Morrison up here. If we're going to fix this mess, we need to understand exactly what went wrong." The Defiance hummed with activity as Kane's crew prepared to attempt the impossible, turning humanity's first interstellar crisis into its greatest diplomatic victory. Understanding the enemy 18 hours later, Captain Kane found himself face to face with High Commander Vex 9 of the Zolonian Defense Fleet. The alien stood 8 feet tall, his crystalline skin refracting light in patterns that Kane had learned indicated extreme hostility. Between them, a holographic display showed the damage to both fleets. The Zolonians had arrived in force, but their rescue operation had gone disastrously wrong. 3 of their ships had suffered critical failures when their bioneural networks overloaded from collective panic. The crystalline beings were psychically linked, meaning the terror from the original incident had cascaded through their entire fleet like a virus. "Your species disgust us," Vex 9 transmitted through the universal translator. "We have seen the recordings. Your creature Morrison devoured living tissue with primitive savagery. You are predators masquerading as civilized beings." Kane kept his voice steady. "Commander, I understand your concern, but you're misinterpreting what you saw. The food our engineer consumed was artificial protein, grown in laboratories without any living animal involvement. Impossible. We detected organic cellular structure," Dr. Benjamin Cross, The Defiance's xenobiologist stepped forward. That's because we design our synthetic proteins to mimic natural cellular patterns for texture and nutritional value. No living creature was harmed in its production. Vex-9's crystalline features shifted into what Kane recognized as confusion. The alien commander consulted with his subordinates, their light patterns flickering in rapid communication. Chief Morrison, who had been mortified to learn his lunch had triggered an interstellar incident, spoke up. "Sir, if I may, I've been reviewing their cultural database. The Zolonians evolved from collective plant organisms. They literally cannot conceive of one sapient being consuming another. It's like trying to explain color to someone who's never had eyes." Kane nodded. The past day had been a crash course in xenopsychology. The Zolonians' entire civilization was built around symbiosis and mutual growth. Their ships were living entities. Their technology was cultivated rather than manufactured, and their society had never experienced predation. "Commander Vex-9," Kane said, "would you be willing to witness our food production process? We can show you exactly how we create nutrition without harming any living being." The alien's light patterns shifted to deep purple, which the computer translated as skepticism mixed with curiosity. "You would allow us aboard your vessel after we have threatened war? We're scientists and explorers, not conquerors. Our mission is to understand and learn, not to dominate." What happened next surprised everyone. Chief Morrison pulled out his personal emergency rations and slowly, deliberately broke them down into component parts, explaining each synthetic element. Dr. Cross provided detailed molecular scans showing the artificial nature of every ingredient. Vex-9 watched in fascination as the humans demonstrated that their carnivorous display was actually an example of sophisticated biotechnology. The Zolonians were master cultivators, and they gradually began to appreciate the elegance of human synthetic biology. "Your species creates the essence of life without requiring life itself," Vex-9 observed, his hostility fading to wonder. "This is artistry." Kane seized the moment. "Commander, our species may be different, but we share the same goal, advancing our civilizations without causing unnecessary harm. Perhaps our methods could benefit both our peoples." The crystalline being's light patterns shifted to brilliant gold, which the translator marked as profound revelation. "You are not predators, you are architects of life itself." As the tension dissolved into mutual curiosity, Kane realized that humanity had just passed its first test in galactic diplomacy. The unexpected alliance 3 days after the near disaster. Captain Kane stood in the Defiance's hydroponics bay alongside Commander Vex-9 and a team of Zolonian bioengineers. What had started as a diplomatic crisis was rapidly evolving into humanity's first interspecies scientific collaboration. The Zolonians were fascinated by human synthetic biology, while the humans marveled at Zolonian cultivation technology. Dr. Cross worked side by side with their lead scientist, Lamera, combining artificial protein synthesis with living neural networks. "Captain," Lieutenant Torres called over the comm, "we're receiving priority transmissions from Earth Command. The footage of our first contact incident has gone viral across human space." Kane sighed. The recorded interaction between Morrison and Crickstall had somehow been leaked, and now every human in the galaxy was watching their engineer accidentally terrify an alien. By eating lunch. What's the response? "Mixed, sir. Some people think it's hilarious. Others are calling for Morrison's court-martial. The media is having a field day, with headlines like "Human Scares Alien with Sandwich." Morrison, who is currently helping Zolonian engineers understand human nutritional requirements, overheard the transmission. "Great, I'm famous for the wrong reasons." But Lamera, the Zolonian scientist, made a sound that the translator interpreted as laughter. "Chief Morrison, your carnivorous display has become legendary among our people as well. They call it the Great Misunderstanding and use it to teach younglings about the importance of cultural research before first contact." Kane smiled. At least something good came from it. The real breakthrough came when Dr. Cross discovered that Zolonian bioneural networks could interface directly with human synthetic proteins. The artificial cells could be programmed to respond to crystalline thought patterns, creating a hybrid technology that neither species could have developed alone. This is revolutionary, Cross explained to Kane. Their living computers can control our synthetic biology at the molecular level. We're talking about programmable food that adapts to individual nutritional needs, medical treatments that think for themselves, even ships that can heal their own damage. Commander Vex 9 added, "Your artificial cellular structures provide the precision our biosystems lack. Together, we could create technologies that benefit both our species enormously." The collaboration attracted attention from across the galaxy. Within a week, representatives from the Altarian Trade Consortium and the Sigma Draconis Alliance arrived to observe the Human-Zolonian partnership. Kane found himself hosting the first multi-species conference in human history. Chief Morrison, meanwhile, had become an unlikely celebrity. The Zolonians had adopted him as an honorary bioengineer, teaching him their cultivation techniques in exchange for lessons in synthetic protein design. His accidental cultural blunder was transforming into the foundation of interspecies cooperation. Captain Morrison reported during their daily briefing, "The Zolonians want to establish a permanent research station in human space. They're offering to share their bioneural technology in exchange for our synthetic biology expertise." Kane nodded. "What does Earth Command say?" "They're cautiously optimistic. The potential benefits are enormous, but they want ironclad guarantees that our food production methods won't cause another panic." Torres laughed. "I've been working with their communication specialists on that. We're developing standardized protocols for sharing nutritional information between species. No more surprise carnivorous displays." As Kane watched humans and Zolonians working together in perfect harmony, he realized that Morrison's innocent lunch had accomplished something that decades of diplomatic preparation might not have achieved. Sometimes the best alliances were born from the most unexpected misunderstandings. The Defiance had set out on a simple first contact mission. Now it was returning home as the flagship of humanity's first interstellar alliance. The pirate threat returns 2 weeks into the human-Zolonian collaboration. The peaceful research exchange was shattered by an urgent distress call. The same pirate fleet that had originally attacked the Zolonian vessel had returned, this time with reinforcements and a score to settle. Captain Kane stood on the Defiance's bridge, watching as 15 pirate ships emerged from hyperspace. Their vessels were cobbled together from salvaged parts of a dozen different species, bristling with stolen weapons and powered by illegal fusion cores. "Captain," Torres reported, her voice tense, "the lead ship is hailing us. They're demanding we surrender all Zolonian biotechnology and evacuate the research station." The pirate fleet was led by a notorious Krillian warlord named Scartooth, whose species resembled bipedal sharks with a taste for violence and profit. Kane had encountered Krillian raiders before during his frontier patrol days, and he knew they wouldn't negotiate in good faith. "Put them through," Kane ordered. Scartooth's scarred face filled the main screen, his rows of razor-sharp teeth gleaming. "Human Captain, you have interfered with our rightful salvage. The crystal ships and their technology belong to us. Surrender now, or we will take what we want from your wreckage." Kane kept his expression neutral. "I'm afraid you're mistaken. This is a legitimate research operation under the protection of both human and Zolonian governments." The pirate leader laughed, a sound like grinding metal. "Your pathetic ships cannot stand against our fleet. We have weapons you've never seen. Armor your lasers cannot penetrate." What Scartooth didn't know was that the past 2 weeks had transformed both human and Zolonian capabilities. The research collaboration had produced several breakthrough technologies that were about to get their first combat test. "Commander, Vex 9, Kane said, turning to the Zolonian officer who had become his trusted ally. "Are your bioneural networks ready?" The crystalline being's light patterns shifted to determined amber. "Our ships have interfaced with your synthetic biology systems. We are prepared to demonstrate the power of our alliance." Kane smiled grimly. "Torres, activate the Morrison protocol." Chief Morrison, working from the engineering deck, had spent the past week developing programmable synthetic organisms that could interface with Zolonian bioneural networks. These microscopic constructs could be deployed like smart mines, but instead of exploding, they would attach to enemy ships and systematically disable their systems. Morrison organisms deployed, Captain Torres reported. They're spreading through the pirate formation now, on the tactical display. Kane watched as thousands of invisible synthetic organisms swarmed toward the pirate fleet. Each one was programmed with specific targeting instructions and powered by bioneural intelligence, borrowed from the Zolonians. Scartooth was still issuing threats when his ship's weapons systems began failing. One by one, the pirate vessels found their engines stuttering, their shields collapsing, and their communications cutting out. "What sorcery is this?" the Krillian warlord snarled, his confidence evaporating. "No sorcery," Kane replied calmly. "Just human ingenuity combined with Zolonian biotechnology. Your ships are being systematically deactivated by organisms too small for your sensors to detect." Dr. Cross explained over the comm channel. The synthetic biology organisms are designed to interface peacefully with standard ship systems. They're not destroying anything, just putting your vessels into what we call safety mode. Within an hour, the entire pirate fleet was dead in space, their crews unharmed, but completely helpless. The Morrison organisms had proven that the human-Zolonian alliance could defend itself without resorting to the destructive warfare that plagued much of the galaxy. "Impressive," Scartooth admitted grudgingly. "But this is not over, humans. The Krillian clans will remember this humiliation." Kane leaned back in his captain's chair. "Then remember this too. The alliance between humans and Zolonians is stronger than any pirate fleet. Try to threaten peaceful research again, and you'll find out what other surprises we've developed." As the disabled pirate ships were towed away by arriving security forces, Kane realized that humanity had just announced its presence on the galactic stage in the most effective way possible, not through conquest or intimidation, but through innovation and cooperation. Birth of the Terran alien C6 months after Chief Morrison's infamous lunch, Captain Kane found himself standing before the Galactic Council on the neutral station of Harmony Prime. The vast chamber contained representatives from 47 different species, all gathered to hear humanity's petition for membership in the galactic community. The events surrounding the carnivorous display incident, as historians were already calling it, had rippled throughout known space. The Human-Zolonian alliance had grown to include the Altarians, the Sigma Draconians, and even the peaceful Ethereal Collective. What started as a misunderstanding about artificial chicken had evolved into the fastest-growing interspecies coalition. In galactic history, the Terran Alliance presents unique opportunities, announced Counselor Prime Thexal, a floating jellyfish-like being whose species had mediated galactic disputes for millennia. Their synthetic biology combined with Zolonian cultivation techniques has already revolutionized food production across 7 sectors. Kane stepped forward, wearing the formal uniform of the newly established Terran Diplomatic Corps. Beside him stood Commander Vex 9, now serving as the first Zolonian ambassador to human space, and Chief Morrison, who had somehow become the galaxy's leading expert on interspecies nutrition. Honored counselors, Kane began. 6 months ago, my engineer ate a sandwich and accidentally terrified our new allies. Today, that same technology feeds millions of beings across dozens of worlds. This is the human way. We turn our mistakes into miracles. The chamber buzzed with various forms of alien communication. Kane had learned to read the mood of different species over the past months. The insectoid hive minds were clicking approval. The gaseous thought clouds were pulsing with interest. And even the notoriously suspicious Mechanical Confederacy was displaying positive status lights. Morrison stepped forward, still amazed that his lunch break had made him famous. Counselors, we've learned that our differences aren't obstacles to overcome, they're resources to share. Human synthetic biology seemed like predatory behavior to the Zolonians. But when we explained our methods, they saw artistry. When they showed us their bioneural networks, we saw possibilities we'd never imagined. Dr. Cross, now heading the Interspecies Research Institute, added, "The Morrison organisms that disabled the Krillian pirate fleet have been adapted for peaceful purposes. We can now neutralize harmful bacteria on dozens of worlds, clean polluted atmospheres, and even repair damaged ecosystems, all without harming any living beings. Vex 9's crystalline form glowed. With pride, the humans have shown us that cooperation transcends evolution. They may have developed as individuals rather than collectives, but they share our commitment to growth without destruction. The debate continued for hours, but Kane could sense the tide turning in humanity's favor. The practical benefits of the Terran Alliance were undeniable, and the galaxy had seen how effectively the partnership could defend itself against threats, like the Krillian pirates. Finally, Counselor Prime Vexal called for the formal vote. One by one, the species representatives cast their decisions. The result was unanimous. Humanity was welcomed into the galactic community as a full member, with the Terran Alliance recognized as a legitimate multi-species coalition. As Kane signed the membership charter, he thought about the strange journey that had brought them here. A simple first contact mission, a misunderstood meal, and one engineer's love of artificial chicken had somehow sparked the birth of humanity's first interstellar empire. Captain Morrison said quietly, "I just want you to know, I still feel terrible about starting this whole mess with my lunch." Kane clapped his engineer on the shoulder. "Morrison, that sandwich of yours just made humanity a galactic power. I'd say that makes it the most important meal in human history." The Terran Alliance had been born from misunderstanding, forged through cooperation, and would grow to become one of the galaxy's greatest forces for peace and progress. And it all started with one human biting into a drumstick. The end.